Miabian Tamil School Society, known as MTSS, and we will be interviewing Mr. Ben Mudia, chairperson of MTSS, and also we'll be interviewing Mr. Gan Moodley, popularly known as Devin Moodley. He is a chairperson of Tamil Education Board at the MTSS. The interview will be conducted by Mr. Simamugele Dima. Miabian Tamil Society was formed in 1936, and the main aims of their founding fathers was to provide Tamil education for free, was to promote the Tamil culture by showing Tamil movies, and also promoting unity among the Tamil community in Delhi.
சங்கம் இது சங்கம் நல் தமிழ் வளர்க்கும் சங்கம் MTSS புகழ் பரப்பும் ஏற்றமிகு சங்கம்
சங்கம் இது சங்கம் நல் தமிழ் வளர்க்கும் சங்கம் MTSS புகழ் பரப்பும் ஏற்றமிகு சங்கம்
வாழ்க தமிழ் என்று சொல்லி வயிறு வளர்க்க மாட்டார் வாழும் ஏழை மக்களுக்கு வாழும் வழி செய்வார்
வாழ்க தமிழ் என்று சொல்லி வயிறு வளர்க்க மாட்டார் வாழும் ஏழை மக்களுக்கு வாழும் வழி செய்வார்
சங்கம் இது சங்கம் நல் தமிழ் வளர்க்கும் சங்கம் MTSS புகழ் பரப்பும் ஏற்றமிகு சங்கம்
சங்கம் இது சங்கம் நல் தமிழ் வளர்க்கும் சங்கம் MTSS புகழ் பரப்பும் ஏற்றமிகு சங்கம் தாழும் தமிழ் பற்றை நீக்கி தமிழ் தழைக்க செய்வார்
தாழும் தமிழ் பற்றை நீக்கி தமிழ் தழைக்க செய்வார்
தங்கள் நாட்டின் சிறப்பை எண்ணி தாம் பெருமை கொள்வார்
தங்கள் நாட்டின் சிறப்பை எண்ணி தாம் பெருமை கொள்வார் கடல் கடந்து வாழ்ந்த போதும் கன்னி தமிழ் மீதும்
கடல் கடந்து வாழ்ந்த போதும் கன்னி தமிழ் மீதும்
கரையில்லாத காதல் வெள்ளம் வந்து கரை மோதும்
கரையில்லாத காதல் வெள்ளம் வந்து கரை மோதும்
சங்கம் இது சங்கம் நல் தமிழ் வளர்க்கும் சங்கம் MTSS புகழ் பரப்பும் ஏற்றமிகு சங்கம் ஆண்டுகளை கடந்து வளரும் சங்கம் எம்ஆர் முதலி வளர்த்த தமிழ் புகழ் எங்கும் தங்கும்
75 ஆண்டுகளை கடந்து வளரும் சங்கம் எம்ஆர் முதலி வளர்த்த தமிழ் புகழ் எங்கும் தங்கும்
எஸ்டி நடேஸ் உடையாரின் சேவை எங்கும் பொங்கும்
எஸ்டி நடேஸ் உடையாரின் சேவை எங்கும் பொங்கும்
இணையில்லாத தொண்டு செய்ய எழுச்சியுற்ற சங்கம்
இணையில்லாத தொண்டு செய்ய எழுச்சியுற்ற சங்கம்
எங்கும் தமிழ் எதிலும் தமிழ் எம்புயிரும் தமிழே
எங்கும் தமிழ் எதிலும் தமிழ் எம்புயிரும் தமிழே
என்றுரைத்து தமிழ் வளர்க்கும் இதனை மிக்க பொங்கும் இசை பூமியிலே எங்கும் கண்டதில்லை புகழுகின்ற பெருமைக்கோ எல்லை இல்லை சங்கம் இது சங்கம் நல் தமிழ் வளர்க்கும் சங்கம் MTSS புகழ் பரப்பும் ஏற்றமிகு சங்கம்
சங்கம் இது சங்கம் நல் தமிழ் வளர்க்கும் சங்கம் MTSS புகழ் பரப்பும் ஏற்றமிகு சங்கம் பயிர் வளர்க்கும் நல்லவரை கண்டோம் தமிழ் பயிர் வளர்க்கும் நல்லவரை கண்டோம்
அமுதமாகும் பக்தியினை ஊட்டி அமுதமாகும் அமைதியினை ஊட்டி ஆன்மநலம் சேர்க்கும் ஆண்டவரை கண்டும் ஆன்மநலம் சேர்க்கும் ஆண்டவரை கண்டு வாழ்கவே வாழ்கவே வாழ்கவே
வாழ்கவே வாழ்கவே வாழ்கவே
வாழ்கவே வாழ்கவே வாழ்கவே
வாழ்கவே வாழ்கவே வாழ்கவே
வாழ்க 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 MTSS வாழ்கவே
வாழ்க 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 MTSS வாழ்கவே 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 வாழ்கவே.
Now please allow me to hand over my mic to Mr. Sisamugele Ndima to carry on with the interview. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you for that introduction. Let me just put down a disclaimer that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, all COVID protocols have been observed, but for the purpose of this interview, we will be taking off our masks. Hope you enjoy the interview. With me, I have two fantastic gentlemen that really are a game changer for this community. We do have close to me, I hope I get these names right, Devin Motley. Now, Devin Motley is the chairperson of the Education Board, as well as on the extreme right, we have Dan Motley. Hopefully I got that right. Who is the chairperson of the organization board. Gentlemen, thank you for having us here and getting a sense of what is happening in the community, because I do feel that in every community you do have people who are basically trendsetters and trailblazers and are the ones fostering that the next generation do the best they can. Look, we're going to try to keep this very brief so that we can actually, but we want to know as much as you can tell us about this wonderful, wonderful environment that we're in right now. So, Mr. Devin Motley, I do have this question, and it's always nice to start any conversation with the introduction. So, if you can kind of just talk about Samarpan Tamil School Society and its history, the vision, and its future prospects.
Thank you, Supriya. The society was formed in 1936. It's been in existence now for 85 years, and it has a very rich and a very colorful history. It's a story which is best captured by what one would consider a dream, a vision, and a humble beginning. You see, a group of like-minded individuals who serve the society persevered over the years by providing voluntary service with love, devotion, respect, and passion. Now, naturally, there were trials and tribulations, but with a remarkable cohesive spirit, a deep sense of loyalty, and a very persistent drive, these determined individuals surmounted the hurdles in their path. So the MTSS Hall and the Tamil School, with all its facilities, stands as a glowing reflection of and a testimony to the unwavering spirit and devotion of these great personalities. The MTSS has evolved from holding Tamil classes in wooden iron buildings of the Samarpan government aided school to the MTSS property in what was then called Lake Road, to being dispossessed of this property. In fact, it was expropriated by the then Natal provincial administration because it was earmarked for the construction of a new school, that's the Ganges Secondary School. And then, of course, to utilizing premises thereafter to the Alipur Road Primary School. And then finally to our current location, which is now 28 Bourbon Road, Samarpan. This property was purchased on the 23rd of July 1973. So, having acquired this piece of land, the society had no money to commence with the building. So, they decided on a strategy which was basically accepting interest-free loans from several members that enabled it to build a hall here in 1977. So they were able to move the Tamil classes back to the MTSS premises. Now, once the hall was erected, the society was then in a position to generate income for weddings and shows. So I those contracts. The Tamil classes were held in the main hall, and in 2001, a new classroom block was added. This included 7 classrooms, a principal's office, and a boardroom, which officially opened on the 6th of October 2001. The main auditorium was also extended and upgraded in 2 phases within a decade. The auditorium was fitted with state-of-the-art sound and lighting equipment in an effort to enhance the quality of the functions that were hosted at the hall. It is important to recognize that all members of the Meerbank Tamil School Society serve the society on a voluntary basis with dedication, passion, and respect. And none of our members are paid for the services they render. The society is cognizant of the changing educational landscape and the online educational technologies that are increasingly being adopted the world over. So we have embarked on a process for our lessons to go online in the very near future. We hope that by adopting this mode of lesson delivery, we will be able to reach many more children and adults, not just in the Meerbank area, but anywhere in the world. So anyone who desires to learn the Tamil language and culture will be just a click away from achieving this. The society also hosted a very successful teacher training and cultural workshop conducted by academics from the Tamil University in Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu, in January 2020. And this was hosted at our hall here at the society. Although the outbreak of COVID-19 has slowed down and brought to a halt many of our planned activities, we're still in discussion with academics from this university for future projects.
That is fantastic. That's fantastic. It's good to see how selflessness is a constant theme that you hear when you hear about this project. And Mr. Chairperson, just to get your sense, now he spoke about many challenges and having to overcome. Now, at the time that you became chairperson of the organization, what would you say were the challenges and how did you guys overcome it?
Thank you. I've been the chairperson for almost 18 months.
Oh, 18 months.
18 months.
Okay. So
a lot of work has been done before that.
If you remember, 18 months is it started over and then at some point COVID started.
So it was a great challenge. We started off very well. Our normal AGM is in August. So 20 August is when I got in. And I must stress that I was the secretary of the society for almost 26 years.
26 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the chairperson was wanting to step down at that point because of ill health. And he demanded of me to take charge at that point in time.
So basically, you did not have a choice.
I didn't have a choice. He started off very well. Things started to click. And a lot of programs that we were putting into place was materializing. And the formation of the Tamil Education Board a few years earlier had actually set the pattern of how we were going to improve on the style of the education that we were affording the children. And we had a Tamil Festival, which was a huge success, and that comes up in October. And in 2019 we had that. It was great to see so much of people there. And that is generally what happens where we get an overflow of people for that festival. It went well until January. We were able to succeeded in getting these professors from India to come and help our students and the teachers with their knowledge, and it was fantastic that they came out and did this. All at their cost. always host them. And all the cost was met by them to come out and spend 2 weeks. They spent 2 weeks here. And it was a huge success. And we were going to follow up. They were quite excited about what we were doing out here. And they were formulating projects that was going to continue in the future. Unfortunately, here comes COVID-19.
Oh yes.
And it halted everything.
Everything. Now let's speak to that challenge. Because, and just before we actually speak to the challenges that are now here, but basically you've touched on it quite a bit when you were discussing on the last part of your statement about you mentioned that where you currently are in terms of the society, the community, and the school. But speak on some of the activities that the Temple school participates in or hosts.
The society conducts quite a few events, and I should mention up front that all of these are done free of charge to the public.
Okay.
So we have a Tamil school for learners that attend state schools, and that is from grade R all the way to grade 12. But in addition to that, we also have classes for adult learners. We have a director of Tamil education, who is Dr. Ganesh Murugan. He has a PhD in Tamil. We have a principal, Ms. Sundaram Governor, and we have 5 teachers in our Tamil school. We conduct music classes for violin, flute, saxophone, harmonium, tabla, mridangam, and vocals. We have dance classes, that's for both popular dance and classical dance forms. We have weekly prayer services held on Sunday mornings in our prayer hall. Here again, COVID-19 stepped in and we've suspended all those prayer services due to COVID-19 regulations.
Okay. Do you have them on Skype now, as or Zoom, as many of the religions have altered?
Yeah, no, we have been working on that, and we should have something in the near future.
Okay.
Annual cultural events that we host are things like the Tamil New Year celebrations, one of our flagship events at the society. The Heritage Day Dance Festival, which is held in conjunction with the Tamil Federation of KwaZulu-Natal. We have our Tamil School Sports Day. We have a function, the Saraswati Pusey celebrations, and of course the annual Tamil festival, the Tamil Rira, at which sumptuous meals are served to all our attendees. And for many of those, we've had the privilege of hosting overseas artists at these Tamil festivals. And then, as I mentioned earlier, in January 2020, we hosted a teacher and a student training workshop conducted by academics from Tamil University, Tanjavur. The event was very well attended, and it comprised tools for training teachers in better delivering their lessons, and also cultural activities like singing and dance for both adults and children. Again, the event was hosted free of charge for all the attendees, and these attendees hailed from all parts of South Africa. We received numerous messages of goodwill and appreciation for hosting this kind of event.
Okay. No, that sounds fantastic. And you know what I do like is that it's you building community through interaction, and that is lost in many of the parts of the country. Because I feel like if you are able to come together and you are able to come up with, you're able to address issues and also come up with solutions as a society. Now, if you can maybe check us, just expand a little bit on that. You know, I actually want to read this one because I feel like it's very important to just capture it just right, so that you can maybe give me a sense of direction. Now, he's breaking down these communities, and I've said what I've said, all these activities, I've said what I've said, but what kind of participation and response are you getting from these activities? So namely, are you, as you are hosting all these different events, what has been the participation, maybe from your youth, from women, from elders, and everybody in between?
Yeah, it's actually brought children together. You know, coming to this Tamil school here, the students, we found that children that come to our linguistic school have a changed behavior pattern. They more culturally inclined than some of them that are not in the school, not coming to a cultural school. Okay. We found that there is a difference there. And with the community itself, with the type of people that we get coming out, our pre-home is full. And it takes about 250 to 300 people. Okay. And it's generally full. And people wait for that event on a Sunday morning. And quite early. It starts at 7 o'clock. 7:30 and goes up to about 8:30. And they socialize a bit. We provide them with teas and chill bites and things like that to socialize a bit before they go. Okay. So it's actually brings people together.
So that's now your regular praying sessions that you used to have. So are these where now, are you also the part of the community in terms of addressing the issues that you've noticed? Because I noticed that you say that when it comes to schools, when it comes to school and learning, I hope you attest to this, that being part of these activities have seen a sharp incline in terms of learner participation, the ability to achieve in schools. Can you maybe expand on that, as you are the chairperson of education? Have you seen an increase? And is there a large gap between the learners who are youth or young people who don't attend these things and the ones that actually do?
Well, let me start by saying that the response to these activities are generally good. More especially the cultural activities like music and dance, but far less so when it involves our language. Okay. We do face challenges in recruiting learners into the town school. But this is a problem that's probably not endemic to MTSS. It appears to be a much wider issue. Our annual events are extremely well attended. The Society has received numerous accolades for all its activities and events held over the years. Learner participation, there's obviously an apathy out there. We need to encourage that. We need to try and find ways of solving that problem. But I want to agree wholly here with the chairman, because we've, in our discussions with state school teachers, meetings that the education board held with them, found a very interesting thing. Almost all of them that were present, in fact, I think all of them, attested to the fact that the children that came from this Tamil school, and it's probably true for other Tamil schools as well, that they are much better behaved. And this is not coming from us, it's coming from the state schools. And then we had sort of a representation of about 8 schools, I think, at that meeting. And all the teachers from there attested that the students that came from this Tamil school were very well behaved, very culturally aware, and seemed to have a more positive attitude towards their education.
No, that sounds very, very, very interesting, because we live in a time now. Learners are, or young people have got an identity crisis. I would be so bold to say, and you would agree with me. It's because of the ever so expanding world with new ideas. From the time that you were maybe in your early 20s or 30s, communication and exposure was limited to just community. Now anybody from the age of 2 up until they are retired have access to the world. Has that also maybe played a part in decreasing maybe participation in the activities? And how has that changed or how has that influenced the responses that you get from these things? Not just from education, but now it's other aspects of community building.
Can I answer? Yes, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. It's about what is important to the person, the family itself. Is the bread and butter issue the most important thing? And if that is taken care of, other things fall in place. But we have serious issues where people from all walks of life, you get the rich and you get the poor. And we find that, in people that attend this school is not the rich. It's not the very rich. It's the middle and the lower class, where they struggle to make a living. We understand there is a problem of where they struggle to make a living. And to educate the child to learn that slice of bread is more important than actually filling that space and saying, my child needs to learn the language because of being Tamil. You've got to learn the language. They don't find any reasons for that. And we are in that position where we've got to try and influence them to send their children to school, to Tamil school, showing them the benefits of having a Tamil school. Because at the end of the day, it's the plate of food that they put on the table. And the English education that they get provides that food on the table for them. The Tamil itself doesn't provide the food on the table. It's the culture, the background that you come from. Stays with you if you attend places like institutions like this, where they learn the language, they learn the basic culture from where they came from. It binds them. It binds them to that culture. And if you don't attend places such as this, you tend to lose that culture. And we found that on the outside, people have lost that culture. Where they don't attend, even services, they don't attend services, they don't attend camps with children. The parents' focus is on educating the child so that they can succeed in life. That doesn't come from the Tamil school. Tamil school is there to give you that background from where you come.
And so, Mr. Modi has just touched on a very important part. And in terms of society, this is the general issues that we face as a society with a huge income inequality. So you do face, we are currently facing a shrinking middle class and an expanding lower middle class. These are just some of the challenges. We won't go too much in depth on wealth inequality in this particular part. But what would you say are some of the challenges to the expansion of the work that you're trying to do right now? Given that there is a pandemic, so we don't have to actually expand on the pandemic, but what are generally the societal challenges that they face?
I think the societal challenges are huge. And I think it's going to take us a long time to discuss all of those. There are serious social issues out there, and economic issues, of course. But let me just come back to the Tamil school. Firstly, it's the apathy and disinterest that's shown by parents to encourage their children to study Tamil. See, our Tamil school can train your child to enable your child to take Tamil in the higher grades. Okay, so that the learner can offer Tamil as a metric subject. Now, we have a dedicated and a passionate cohort of teachers who perform a great job here. So it's preferable for the parents to send their child early to Tamil school so that they can get enrolled early, so that the teachers can then work with them and elevate them to the desired level in the early stages of the learning exercise. Over the years, the MTSS has produced many matriculants, most of whom achieved distinctions in Tamil. And I'll give you an example. In 2019, we had 5 learners who matriculated with Tamil. And in 2020, we've had 3 learners who have had distinctions in Tamil. As far as the impact on the Tamil school is concerned, well, I think you've already mentioned COVID-19, it's really set us back because we had to close the school for extended periods. Now, this is obviously not entirely conducive to long-term teaching and learning, but the society views the health and the safety of its staff and learners as paramount. So we've had to take that difficult decision of suspending activities at the Tamil school.
Yes.
As far as our funding and cultural events go, due to COVID-19 and being unable to generate funds for our Tamil school, this has certainly negatively impacted on many of our proposed projects and hosting of our cultural events like we normally do.
Okay, and just to expand a little bit on that, because as you had spoken earlier, is that there is this law of inequality. Now, with the shutting down of the school as being a major challenge due to COVID-19, how have the poor then been affected by this unfortunate event? Oh no, I was directing to the check.
Yeah, the school hasn't opened these. We are just having meetings now and wanting to open school, I think, this coming week. It's going to be a test to see how many of them are going to come back to school. Okay. We don't know the challenges out there. We haven't really dealt with and to find out if there's problems within the community. Okay. But in the near future, it looks like we have to start looking at how we can address these issues. Because MTSS was an institution for Tamil education, and we didn't concentrate too much on people at home and looking at the standards, whether they need assistance or whether they don't need assistance. And this is something that we are going to look into. We need to look into.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy because there are a lot of barriers that you overcome as a society. I mean, I would dare say that kind of burden, it's a lot to bear. So I do wish you luck on that aspect, But we're going a bit on the dark side, but I'd like to just bring it back a little bit of hope as we come towards the end of the interview. And if you could just break down, and hopefully you can expand as well. And I want to just read this again. I'm sorry, I'm doing a little bit more reading than we should, but I want to make sure that I capture this. What are the prospects of near-death Tamil society activities in South Africa? Now, when I say activities, let's start at a community-based level, where you're saying, now, this is now post the disruption. And how are we going to then expand into the greater Durban, the greater KZN, and subsequently the nation?
Okay, so the society has a history, of course, spanning over 85 years, and has contributed immensely in uplifting our Tamil language and culture in South Africa. It has cemented itself as one of the leading Tamil organizations in South Africa. It has a sustained record of promoting our language and culture. In terms of going forward, we are currently in the final stages of preparation to launch an online teaching and learning program, which we hope will increase the recruitment of both adults and children. This mode of delivery will have the potential for interested individuals to partake in the lessons wherever they may be, both within and beyond South Africa. So we're hoping to get a broader base and to expand the activities that we normally perform here at our site or in location. I think it's safe to say that minority languages are under threat throughout the world. Tamil is a classical language, and it's the oldest spoken language in the world. So we certainly need to think in innovative ways MTSS has played and is currently playing a very important role in educating and preserving our culture. More especially the morals and the ethics, as the chairman earlier alluded to. The ethics that have been enshrined in a book that we call Tiruppu, which was written by Thiruvalluvar. So it's involved in meaningful activities towards educational, social, and moral upliftment of the learners, paying very close attention to the society at large.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, Mr. Modia, he spoke, Dan spoke quite briefly about the unity and diversity. Now, what does that mean for MTSS?
It's something that we try to propagate, unity. Bringing back children to Tamil school is a great challenge. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of background work to get this going. We are a body that offers free education. There's no charge to that education. Even the music classes, which is held on a Saturday, there is no charge for that. And nobody is restricted to attend these classes, whether it's the language class, whether it's a music class. No one is excluded. Anyone who is interested in learning the language or learning music is invited to participate at no charge. The only cost to them would be to buy their own instruments. The teaching is provided free of charge. And I think this is something that needs to go out there. The surrounding areas, even the Tamil community, the surrounding areas, are welcome to attend.
So now, just before we close, now I do hear about the aspect of no limitations, no restrictions. If you could just maybe speak about the expansion of or the inclusion of one youth, and you did say that people of color and minorities are in a large extent being largely affected. Now, when it comes to your plan moving forward, and in line with diversity, what is the participation of women and young girls, which is ever more so important with the rise of the GBV? I'm not saying I know the stats specifically in the Indian community, but when it comes to women and child abuse, when it comes to those social ills that we face, and this is part of the question, how is the inclusion and participation of women and children in these communities have improved their odds and kept them safe from these things? I don't know, anybody can answer this.
That's actually, it's quite a difficult thing to answer. The problem is that we don't have, since we're not an entirely social redress organization, like a welfare organization, we are primarily a linguistic and cultural organization with, of course, a social address or redress policy in place as well.
Yes.
So we do that as a complementary activity of the society. We try and get involved in many of the programs or activities to try and assist communities out there, wherever we can. The society has a lot of programs. I think there's too many to go into right now.
Yes.
Where we assist other organizations, like old age organizations and hospices and all kinds of organizations. So yes, there is a social redress issue. The people that do get involved in our activities are women, children, girls. Yes. But as I said, the focus mostly here is on the language and the culture, and we try to assist them wherever we can, in the other aspects as well.
Okay.
It is certainly a very huge issue out there. As I said, the social and economic issues that people are facing, even now, after COVID, it's immense during and after COVID, I would say. So it's certainly some issues that I think the society will seriously think about in terms of a plan going forward.
Okay. Yeah, and this is David Woodley, the chairperson of the Education Board. And before we go, Mr. Dan Woodley, the chairperson of the whole entire organization, any closing remarks?
I think we are going to be posed with a lot of questions, a lot of queries by people out there. And this is generally something that's been happening over the last 12 months.
Yes.
What is MTS's doing? Because they can hear nothing being done.
Yes.
There's nothing spoken of that we are doing. But we hope that things are going to change in the future as far as the pandemic goes.
Yes.
And we can get back to normal, as normal as possible. I don't think it's going to be normal as normal. But I think things have to improve, and I think people need to take that into account, where they need to take this seriously. And there's restrictions placed on us when you out in the open. You've got to use your masks, social distance.
Yes.
And I think it's important that people maintain this. And in my walk of life, my surroundings, I find people just ignore this. They don't follow this.
Yeah.
They don't social distance. And my prayer is that they will soon realize that they need to do this to overcome this pandemic. They need to do this. Follow the protocols that's required so that society can return to normal. It's going to take time. It's going to take a period of time. It's going to change. It has to change. As long as people respect this, that they need to social distance, they need to wear masks in the open. And I think, yes, the challenges are great out there. And we are positive that we can overcome.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time, and thank you that you're doing so much for the community. I asked these questions, I asked them to challenge you, not to put you in any compromising situation, but for the nation and for the world to actually see that in the smallest of communities, people have hearts. And it is very important to understand that in communities that we may not have all the answers, but we're doing the best that we can. Because all we can encourage the next person is that try your best and do the best that you can. And I'm very certain that through the education system that you are created here, it is, in fact, try the best that you can and have a heart. With that said, thank you very much for being with us during this interview. We will cross over to Spiwe as he will give us the closing remarks. Enjoy the rest of your year and please stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to Mr. Samarpan. The interview was very interesting and very informative. Now allow me to thank Mr. Dan Mudia G, Chairperson of MTSS, and also Mr. Gen Mutli, the Chairperson of Tamil Education Board at MTSS. As I said earlier, the interview was very interesting. So in that note, to all of you, Mudia G and Mutli G, I'm saying, Miki Nandi. Thank you very much. On behalf of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Devon, I'd like to say to MTSS, thank you very much for this interesting interview. I also like to thank Dr. Chaichana Prakash Yogi, Director at the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, for making sure that this program runs very smooth. To those who participated online, we'd like to say thank you very much for taking time and also deciding to with us this evening. To all of you, we are still saying please visit our Facebook page so that you'll be updated about all cultural programs organized by Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Devon. To all of you, as such a wonderful participant of this program, we like to say to all of you, Mika Nandri.